Namaste, Professor Sonali Das. Let me introduce her formally. Dr. Sonali Das is an associate professor of statistics in the Department of Business Management at the Faculty of Economic and Management Study, University of Pretoria, South Africa. She had been a visiting associate professor at the School of Statistics and Actuarial Science, University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, South Africa from 2016 to 2019. She was also a research associate at the Department of Statistics, Nelson Mandela University, Port Elizabeth, South Africa for the academic year 2013. About her qualification, she did her BSc Statistics with honors from Presidency College, presently it is known as Presidency University, and MSc Statistics from University of Calcutta, India, and PhD in Statistics from University of Connecticut, USA. She has received many awards, accolades, and recognition to her credit. But to mention a few, let me tell that she is the recipient of University of Connecticut Graduate Student Fellowship for 5 years continuously from 2001 to 2006. She is also the recipient of University of Connecticut Pre-Doctoral Fellowship for the year 2006 summer. She is an elected member of the International Statistical Institute since 2019. Presently, she is a member of South African Council for National Scientific Professionals, and she will continue up to 2025 under the Department of Science and Innovation. She is also a member of World Forum for Women in Science, Duhok, Iraq. She is also mentor at InterScience Research Network since 2021. She is the recipient of 2020 Science for Women program, visiting Senior Research Fellowship Award by Women of Science South Africa Federation at Spain. She is associate editor for Applied Statistics Models in Business and Industry, which is the official journal of International Society for Business and Industrial Statistics since 2022. Today, we are having a conversation for her chapter contributed towards the computational management in business management. The chapter title is Rise and Fall of Score Model Fought After the Pandemic. So with regard to that, this is an interview, and she has done her work on quantification of risk. So I'm going to have some question answer session with regard to her research area. Madam, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Patnaik. First, also giving us the opportunity to submit for the book chapter, and also opportunity today to talk to you about some of the work we do. And that work specifically is part of a PhD student's initial work for a PhD. So it's always nice when the student's work gets peer reviewed and commented on. So that was a very good boost for the student, especially because it was during the COVID period. We needed something positive, and thank you very much.
Correct. You are working on the frontier area of quantification of risk. Can you elaborate on that subject?
So risk is a very ambiguous word. Different people understand risk differently. As statisticians, we always convert it into looking, extreme values or survival or something like that. But even so, in my career, what I have learned is it's very easy to jump to doing statistics without necessarily understanding what risk means to the domain scientist. What does risk mean to, say, a climate scientist or ocean scientist or to an economist? So from our side, it's very important. When I say our, I mean the quantitative researchers, to be first patient to understand what is to be defined as risk. When does something start looking like risk in reality, not just in a model? And also, what variables do these scientists talk about or capture, or at what frequency? And why? Because sometimes in an ideal world, you want very high frequency data, but in reality, a scientist has probably one measurement the whole year to capture about what it is. To then ask them what are the associated variables of concern that may be affected by your primary variable of interest. So for me, risk is, and risk can, as I said, even if you do climate studies, the risk study can be affecting a farmer in some province who might be thinking whether I should continue with the crop that I have been doing all these years, or must I stop it because now rain is not going to happen. I cannot water my farms with pumped water because groundwater is not enough. What must the next strategy be? Which will in turn decide what will be the price of that commodity going forward in 2 years' time, 3 years' time. So there's a lot of issues in this whole discussion of risk. As a statistician, then we have to zoom in and say, okay, where do we focus? What do we request from the scientists? What variables, what is goodness of the data? What is, as we say to data science students, what is the veracity of the data, validity of the data? And to also know that when you finish running a model and putting it in, that's not the end. You go back to the scientist and say, does this make sense in your context? If not, how must we revise the model, etc. So yeah, risk is as you may want to define it in your context. But once that is done, how do we then translate it to statistical applications and analysis?
Correct. So previously, this business analytics or data analytics was not there, let's say 5 years before. So this is a newly termed word, data analysis or business analytics. And how can you correlate with quantifying the risk through the business analytics?
So currently I teach business analytics or analytical decision making to business management students, which is very different from teaching same thing to say statistics students. So what we want to sensitize business management students is you are not the statistician. You are the business specialist. You know which business you are handling. What are the threats and weaknesses and strengths of your business? You know what you collect on a daily basis historically. Just because a statistician said so, you suddenly cannot start manufacturing data. You must know what you want to achieve through your business goals. And these goals are also dynamic goals. Today, you might be doing some analysis based on your goals today. Tomorrow, a pandemic strikes, your goals may completely change. So, we are not working as somebody who is a business student, who is also a data scientist, who is also a statistician. No, you're working in a team where your job as business manager is to able to articulate the problem as best as you can and tell the statistician that this is what we want to investigate based on this data. The statistician will do the job. And a good example of this is how architects work with builders. The builder will build whatever plan you give them. It is the architect's role to define what is the scope of the project, right? And then they will do it. So a business analysts, yes, they are aware of what the data constraint asks, but if you have a wrong question, you will always have a wrong answer. So the role of a business analyst, in my opinion, is to know exactly what you want from your business goals under the constraints that you're operating in. And then not be shy of updating your business goals or dropping variables, including more variables, including the complexity of the vision of the problem. But once you have that, the statistician is better equipped to handle or do the modeling.
Correct. So you mean to say you are both the side as well as say business management as well as statistics. So how do you see the interdisciplinary research of say effective research? Interdisciplinary nature of the effective research.
Well, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
The effective research happens when it is interdisciplinary.
Correct.
So and to have an effective interdisciplinary research, you have to have respect for the capability that each team member brings because of the training they have received. I cannot do what, say, an ecologist does, but I can ask questions. I can say, why do you measure this variable at this frequency? Is it a new kind of sensor? Can I combine old sensor with new sensor measurements? So these are the things the data scientist will ask. And to understand that they bring more domain knowledge. And likewise, on the business side, they have to know that the statistician knows the technical nuances of the math behind the problem. And they will ask some questions, and one has to be patient. And that is the only way to always be, competitive in the market that you're operating in.
Correct. Since how long you are teaching business analytics?
So effectively the last 3 years, because for 13 years I was at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in Pretoria. In 2019, I moved to the Business Management Department. So since then I have been teaching, but at different levels. So I have taught third-year students, which is very different from teaching honors student, which is very different from teaching PhD because their maturity is different. So you have to modulate how you present the course differently.
Correct. So how is the demand of business analytics professionally in South Africa?
So I think it is like in any other country. I think so obviously there are big businesses like the Amazon, or we have here Takealot or Microsoft. Their obviously business model is very different. Then you have maybe the local companies or smaller companies. I think just how data science or business analytics, it is evolving. I think a lot of people think they can do it, but there comes a point when they say, okay, now I don't know how I must do it. So I think increasingly it is coming to a point where they realize that to make the team strong, you have to bring in individual capabilities to work on a problem. And obviously there is demand, but it is also our duty from where we sit or the training we have to be able to sensitize the community that what data analytics is. It's not you do it once and it's done. No, next year the data changes, the model may change, new variables may come, you have to reassess your approach to the model. So it is an iterative dynamic system and you have to keep investing in it.
Correct. So
another thing, just give me one more minute. In business, another thing is, so it is not always secondary data people work with. People often go to say interview CEOs or something like that, which is very qualitative. How does one incorporate that? Even right from starting with, because here we have something called Personal Information Protection Act.
Yes.
What can be asked? What cannot be asked? What can be used for analysis, how to get ethics clearance, how to incorporate that qualitative information in any way in the model. So it's quite a process.
Correct.
And often businesses may not be aware of all this. So it is also our role to be saying to them that to get better results, there is a rigorous process that needs to be followed.
Correct. So in general, how do you find the South African society, culture, and
So we have lived here for a very, very long time, more than 15 years. So obviously, we live here, we love to live here. Our problems are not any far removed from any other developing country problems. We have our challenges. Especially during the pandemic, I think the good thing was South Africa is a commodity strong country, so we could still go with a lot of agriculture and minerals export. So that sort of kept our economy afloat. And as I said, there is no country that does not have challenges. I think the role of every one of us to see how can we improve from where we are sitting. So but it's a beautiful country and you must find time to visit here.
Sure, madam. Thank you. You have been teaching to the business management student for a couple of years. What will be your advice to the student in general of business management who are studying in India?
I think not just India, I think any business
Yes.
management students
Yes.
across, to be patient.
Yes.
One can easily jump to conclusions and make decisions.
Correct.
Um, and that's not right. One has to make informed decisions, and getting information needs to involves honest engagement with the problem, asking honest questions and critiquing a methodology as best as you can. And you are allowed to make mistakes so long as once you make mistakes, you recover and rectify it. Your model can be wrong, your data can improve, your data may be wrong, as long as you understand that at that point you tried your best, you did something, but you need to evaluate the goodness of your approach and then improve on it. So I think it's an iterative process, it's a forever learning process, and it is a responsibility because one wrong business decision can have many implications. You stop making a product, what happens to the stock in your storeroom? Are you sure the new product that you're going to launch will actually have a market reach at a price that is fine with competition? What will be the lifespan of the new product that you're launching? Those may have many, many implications. Jobs may be lost,
Correct.
opportunities may be lost. So every business decision is not just a business decision. It can affect a wide range, and one doesn't want to do that. And that's what. And the other thing I tell the students, there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. You get knowledge by looking back at what you are doing, but wisdom is how do you act on it,
Correct.
and update your strategy dynamically and as often as required.
So for the first time, I came to know about the best point, that is patience. I have never heard about it from any business management professor. For the first time, I must tell, this is the most important point. If someone will rank, say 1 to 10, patience will come, say maybe 9 out of 10. One business management student or a professional should have. So thank you, madam, for giving the most valuable tips.